Hey, welcome to Thursday. We are live in the warehouse. Tonight we have a panel and we're going to do our top 10 tracks from the Electric Light Orchestra. So this should be fun. We want to hear from you in the chat. What are your favorite tracks? Let's do it.
Grant is changing the world one track at a time on Grant's Rock Warehouse.
Hey, everybody. We are live and look at this panel. We've got Webb. We've got the Parish of Rock. And we've got Marco and myself and the Contrarians. Look at this. Gentlemen, how are you? Nice to see you.
Wonderful.
Are you ready to talk some ELO?
Yeah.
Well, so this is kind of screwing. This doesn't make sense because we're in the midst of an ELO series, but we're doing a top 10 tracks for the second show. It doesn't matter, but it just kind of, you'd think we would do this at the end, but yeah, what the heck? We're going to do a top 10 track. So I know there's a lot going on tonight elsewhere on YouTube, but I think we'll be just fine. For everyone here, I want to welcome everybody that's here in the comment section. We do want to hear from you. What are your favorite ELO tracks? We want to keep this interactive. I'll go to everybody in the comments. We know how to do it. We're going to run this very similarly to the Contrarians live chat on Wednesday. We're going to go 3, 3, and 4, and we're just going to go around the loop. We're going to go Webb. We're going to go Parish. We're going to go Marco and myself, and we're just going to talk about our top 10 favorite tracks. All right, let's do it. Webb, what's your first 3?
Okay, well, I want to start out just by saying I'm not giving a history on ELO. I think everybody kind of...
We already did that on the other show, so if you want to know, everybody knows ELO.
Yeah. Well, I was 6 in 1975, and that's probably when all the radio hits started coming, maybe in 74. But when I heard ELO, I was like, wow, this is different. This is a new band. Oh, there's David.
Oh, okay.
There's Dave, but do I have Dave's picks?
Maybe not.
Well, Dave's here too. I don't have his picks, but I probably have the graphics. So anyway,
right,
Dave, how are you? Ready?
That looks like my pick on your first graphic.
Well, it's Webb's.
Okay.
Whatever.
Cool, David. Cool, Dave. Okay, so One Summer Dream.
Okay, wait a minute. So Dave, what we're doing, we're gonna go 3, 3, and 4. So give me your first 3, and then your second 3, and then the last 4 picks. It'll all work. So the order is Webb, Parish, Marco, you, then me.
Okay.
All right. Cool. All right. Woo! Right there's the nick of time, ladies and gentlemen. All right, Webb. Sorry.
Number 10, One Summer Dream. Sounded like Dave is agreeing with me. Closer on Face the Music. I felt like I wanted to put in a couple of deeper tracks. I just love this song. I discovered it really just in the past few years, and that dreamy flow of it, beautiful intro, gorgeous vocals. I just think it's a brilliant song. Kind of has a feeling of you're flying, or kind of, I don't know, maybe a little sedated or something. I'm
sedated right now.
Yeah, well, yeah, we might all be. And I definitely hear Beatles chord progressions in this, which you do, and so in the verses especially, you hear a lot of that, obviously. In ELO
Dave, that is the same pick. It is your pick.
Well,
because I've got yours right here. That is your number 10.
Well, great minds think alike. Okay.
I'm gonna check. I sent you a note in between. Sorry to interrupt. I actually sent you a note just about an hour ago saying I want to change my number 10 pick, so I'm gonna change it now.
All right, you can change it. I didn't get it because I was in another show. Anyway.
Well, I stole his thunder. Oh, anyway, I just love that track. And like I said, I wanted to kind of include a couple of deep cuts along with a bunch of hits. So One Summer Dream, number 10. Number 9, big hit, Turn to Stone. I just loved it from the first time I heard it. I love that shuffle groove. I read somewhere that Jeff Lynne said, he loves the shuffle beat of it. Primary and simple, but very evocative. Ooh, that's a good word. And it went gold in the US and silver in the UK. I love the fade in, the call and response vocals on the verses, which is cool. And I've just always liked it. I've always loved that song. It's the opener on Out of the Blue, so it's a good way to open a double album, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. Okay, that's number 9. And then number 8, My Bell, off of On the Third Day. That guitar riff is just, that double tracked guitar riff is awesome. It might be, I say it's the heaviest riff. I don't know the catalog all the way from the beginning to the end, but I know there's a couple other big crunchy riffs that Jeff Lynne does, but this has got to be one of them.
Yeah, I love the guitar sound on that, Webb.
Oh yeah. It's just crunchy. It's thick. It's got balls. I love it. And it reminds me of something, but I can't place it. I'm always thinking something reminds me of something.
It kind of reminds me of Do Ya. It reminds me of a Move song is what it reminds me of.
Yes, which I love some Move too. We can talk some Move one day.
Yeah.
And the guitar riff is the hook because they do it 3 times. They break it down and do it 3 times in the song. So they knew where the money was in that song. It went to 22 in the UK. It didn't chart at all in the US. And heavy pounding drums, vocals. It's just a balls out rocker. So that's my 10, 9, and 8.
All right, excellent. Thanks, Webb. All right, let's throw it over to the Parish of Rock. Parish?
Okay. When I started looking at this, I decided I had to set myself some rules because otherwise my top 10 was going to comprise solely of this album and this album.
Yeah.
And I thought that can't be right. So, well, it could be right, but it doesn't seem fair when they've got so many good songs. And then the other issue I had when I wrote down my first list is everything's on that, the greatest hits. I was thinking that can't be right either. There must be some deep cuts in there that I like. So I restricted myself to I could only have 2 tracks per album. So that stopped me from just picking off those 2 albums. And I had to have at least 2 deep tracks in my top 10. So those were the rules. And then when I did it all and looked at my final list, I thought, actually, it's probably what my list would have been anyway. So did I really need those rules in the first place? Who knows? And the other thing is, I just want to say that when Grant first asked me to come on, I thought he asked me to come on to do a show about emo. I misread it when it first came through. But
we may switch it up, Parish. By the end of the show.
Knowing how much Grant likes emo, but then I realised it was ELO that he was asking to talk about.
Hey, we might branch out.
So my first one is off that album. We just had it up a moment ago. So Face the Music, and it's probably the heaviest track, or at least one of the heavy tracks on that album. But it's not Evil Woman, which is what you might expect. It's Poker. So I just think Poker's a really good, hard-rocking, riffy song. ELO doesn't do that sort of hard rock very often, but they certainly did on that song. So that's my number 10. My number 9 then goes to the other kind of extreme, which is from El Dorado. And unfortunately, my El Dorado's on a box set, so I can't actually show the album cover.
Let me see that. Throw that up there again, Parish. Huh. All right. Never seen that. Very nice.
Which came out just after, I think it came out just after Discovery. But anyway, and I'm going to go with Can't Get It Out of My Head, which I think is just a really good pop song. Sort of a bit of a slower song. But yeah, just another one of their classics, really.
Right up there.
And then number 9. Hit number 9.
Yeah.
In the US.
And then going back to Face the Music for my number 8, I'm going with Strange Magic, which again I think is just another perfect pop song, really. The sort of thing that ELO is just really good at. Not a lot more to say, really. If you know ELO, you'll know the song, and if you don't know ELO, why are you watching? That's all I've got to say. Really.
Exactly. Well, normally we're trying to. Well, on this channel.
I'm mucking you out.
Well, on this channel, where you're normally trying to turn you on to stuff that maybe you don't really know, but a lot of people are probably turning in just to see our ranking because they already know it.
I suspect they're coming on just to see whether their favourite is number 1 as well. But anyway, so that's my number 8. How many are we doing? 3, was it this time?
We're doing 3. You're good.
Yeah, so that's my 3.
All right, thanks, Parish. Let's throw it over to Marco. What's your number 10?
All right, thanks for having me on, Grant.
Of course.
Is awesome. All right, let's take a look here. See, this is amazing because, like, I love ELO. It's like one of my favorite bands. One of my favorite band families is the Move, Wizard, ELO, and stuff like this. So like I had the same kind of struggle with there's so many good records and there's so many good songs. So like I'll never be satisfied with like my top 10 list. And it's funny because like I've already heard a bunch of songs that aren't even on my list, like Turn to Stone and stuff like this, that I'm like, oh, that was another great one that I could have put on my list. So a lot of these songs are interchangeable for sure, but let's go through my list here. So the first one is the opening track from A New World Record, and we have Tightrope.
Yeah.
So good record. I think that's a great opener. I love the intro and just like the melody and the performances and stuff like that. I think that's a great opener. And I saw somebody comment earlier about the Toronto 78 show. And it was funny because just earlier today, I was watching Tightrope played live at the Toronto 78 show, which I believe is on YouTube. I think there's a video of that. 78 or 77, but somebody mentioned it in the comments, which was interesting. Number 9, this is from Face the Music. So we have Kelly Grucut making his debut. I think this was his first co-lead vocal, Knight Rider. Just incredible tune, amazing track. Love watching the double lead harmony and the double co-lead, especially when they do it live on like Midnight. What's the name of that show?
Midnight Special.
The Midnight Special, yeah. ELO, I think they do Knight Rider on there, and Kelly Grucut's in it and co-leading with Jeff Lynne. It's a great tune, and it's a very contemporary tune. Like I feel like that's something that could be released today and sound very contemporary. So great. Amazing track. And then number 8, a theme you'll probably see through my list. So I don't think I got more than 2 tracks per any album other than this one album, which is one of my favorites. Here is the News from Time. So there was a time in my listening to ELO. I've gone back to this record like a few times, but like I've just listened to this album like on repeat. And Here in the News is just like a great tune. There's like electronic stuff going on like this, like kind of reminds me of like Giorgio Moroder type production. Like if anybody is familiar with like Sparks, Number One in Heaven, you kind of get that like, you know, like fast beat going, and there's electronic instrumentation and stuff like this. And I just think it's a really cool track off a really cool album. So those are my first 3.
Cool.
Excellent. All right, man. This panel's on fire. Mr. Lubin, I'm ready for you. I think, well, you're going to change up your number 10.
I am going to change up my number 10.
I'm going to put this up anyway, just so we have a graphic.
The background here is that I've been on Grant Show reviewing albums, and it's like every time we get to the top of the list, it's like you can just count on an ELO album being there. ELO is my favorite band. This was a horror show for me to pick up 10. And what happened was about an hour I'm walking and I'm like listening to See Me Alone and saying, oh my God, how could I not have included this song? So I'm switching my number 10 to, Webb brought it up. I'm going to tell you right now, you guys have brought up a lot of songs already. They're on my top 10, but nevertheless, my top 10 is from El Dorado. It was Poor Boy. It's a story about him and Robin Hood. It's just this catchy, upbeat song. It ends. It's the end of side 2, and as I said, it was. But here's the problem: I was listening to like different ELO all day, and I was thinking, well, how could I not have? You know, I can tell you right now, Knight Rider's not on my list. How can I not have Knight Rider? How can I not have Fire on High? But I had to pick 10 anyway. So I'm going to switch my 10 from One Summer Dream to Poor Boy. Webb covered One Summer Dream, another fantastic song, but Poor Boy is a great song. It's a more upbeat rocker, and that'll be my number 10. My number 9, one I haven't heard anybody mention yet, might come up. It's from the album Discovery. It's a story song. It's The Diary of Horace Wimp. What I really like about this is he's kind of going against type here. He's telling like this didactic story, and it really just follows it piece by piece. I remember when I first got the album, at that time it was my favorite song just because it was kind of different, and it just really worked for me. It didn't work as a hit song in the United States. It reached number 8 in Great Britain, but didn't chart at all here. But at the time, it was one of my favorites. However, as we go through the list, I determined over time that there was another song on that album that became my favorite song on that album. And number 8, I'm going to go to Face the Music. Every single song on that album is a 5-star song, but I'm going to go number 8, Waterfall. It was the second song. It follows the instrumental Fire on High. Jeff Lynne has actually said it's one of his favorites, but I've seen 2 of his concerts in the last 7 or 8 years. It is not in the set list. And it's just this really cool song. It's like many of his songs, opens up with kind of an orchestra symphony type thing, goes into a guitar solo, and then turns into this like soft, very melodic type songs that Jeff Lynne is just so good at putting out. And, you know, I was thinking about something today. You don't ever hear anybody do ELO covers, and I think everybody would be too afraid to even attempt it because they would fail miserably. So,
Agree.
I would agree. How could you even? I couldn't imagine.
Yeah.
I'm sure there are probably some covers out there, but I can't think of any. Got me. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Excellent. Sweet baby Jesus. That's awesome. All right. My number 10. Now the way I'm approaching this is a little bit different because I see everybody's picks first and I put this all together. So I'm kind of just throwing out some songs that I'm sure the panel loves them. They weren't they're on their list. Some of them are on the list, but I just put some songs on here that I absolutely love. You know, one day my number 10 could be my number 3. My number 3 could be 1 on one day. This is really just more about talking about ELO. But my number 10 today, I'm going to go with Need Her Love off Discovery. Absolutely wonderful melody. Jeff Lynne's vocals on here are top notch. It is just a phenomenal ballad. And that's one thing that a lot of people don't really mention about ELO and their ballads is that they really have some great slow songs. And I could listen to this all day. I love it. Another track, my favorite track from this next album is the title track, Secret Messages, 1983. Now, we don't have a lot of picks from this album tonight, but I think Secret Messages, think about it, this is 1983. This is very 80s sounding. But I don't have a problem with it because it's very tastefully done. The drums are very 80s sounding. It's very 80s sounding. Let's just leave it at that.
Yep.
But the guitars on here, the choruses, the production, I love this. This really is like one of my all-time favorite ELO songs. And I don't think that this period of ELO is, they had their peak. They're kind of like, ELO is like a bell curve,
Yeah.
Get better, 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 and then they go back down. It's the Sly and the Family Stone scenario. But man, there really are some gems on this record. And the more I hear this record, the more I like it. So I think it's, I like it. All right. So that's my number 9. My number 8. I mean, a lot of people could choose something from this album. And probably not this song, but I think this is just as good as Turn to Stone or any of those other songs. It's Over from Out of the Blue.
Yeah.
Pure pop greatness is the way I look at it. I think it's phenomenal. And I like the whole record. A lot of people look at this and they kind of think that this is start of the downward in quality, but I don't. That could be for another show. In fact, I'm not going to talk about it here because we're going to get to this record on the series. So, but I do think this is pop perfection. Great work from Jeff Lynne. Quintessential ELO in my book. Give me a dictionary. I could put it's Over in there. I love it. All right. That's
Cool.
my 3. All right, Webb, you are up.
Okay, so 7 is a big hit, Telephone Line. And I love this song since the first 10 seconds I heard it. Never heard anything like it. With that intro, I was like, my 7-year-old self or whatever, or 7-year-old self was like, what in the hell is this? And it was just awesome. My neighbor had my best friend neighbor had the 45, and his older brother would get the telephone, back in the old days like this, right? And he would like lip sync to it like he was Jeff Lynne, with that longing and that yearning. Because, that's the way he sounds. You feel it when you listen to that song. And it was a huge hit. Number 7 US, number 8 UK, stayed on the Hot 100 23 weeks, throwing out some facts. The longest any ELO song stayed on the charts, 23 weeks. And I just love it. I just thought it was the cool. And I'm not going to read. I put a quote on there of Jeff Lynne about how they got the telephone sound, and they called a number they knew someone wouldn't answer to get that American Ring, which is really cool. And I just love it. It went platinum. The single went platinum in the US and gold in the UK. So who had a song like this? No one, right? I mean, who had a song like this in 1976? No one. So
No.
Telephone Line 7. Let's go on to 6, which has already been said. Poker. Man, this rocks. Parish Rock was saying it. Kelly Grucut, is that how you say it? Grucut? His vocals are double tracked on that. So he's lead. It's his. I thought it was him and Jeff Lynne, and then I researched, and it's his voice double tracked. Kind of sounds like a Bee Gees a little bit. Voice, the voice. I don't know. I'm hearing it, and I love the up tempo. I wrote down got specific at 1:15 the halftime when it breaks into the halftime. That little groove in it is just so awesome. They do it 3 times in the song. Total hook, and I mean that is just a rocker. It's one of their most rocking songs, just like Paris said. And so love that song. Loved it since the first time I heard it. Okay, that's number 6. Number 5, let's get funky. You know what it is, right? Showdown. Okay, yeah. I don't know if they got any funkier. I mean that clav. I mean, you gotta love it. Who doesn't love a clav? If you don't like the clav, I don't know. I can't hang out with you.
Well, you know what? You mentioned the clav.
Yeah.
You know, Stevie Wonder around this time was using a lot of clavinet. I wonder if that had kind of influenced ELO, because I could probably hear a little Stevie Wonder in this song.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out. I never really thought about it until you said that, but
well,
it could be. I hear a little Stevie in this song.
Yeah, and it actually was a single. It got to 50 all the way to 53 in the US and 12 in the UK. So bigger hit in the UK. It was re-released in 76 as a single, maybe after they had a bunch of momentum going, right? And okay, have you seen the movie Kingpin? Woody Harrelson, the bowling movie, Bill Murray. Yeah. Okay, funny movie. Remember they highlight that song during the bowl off between Bill Murray and Woody Harrelson. And for some reason, when I heard that was perfectly placed, I think the Coen brothers did that. When you're watching the movie and that comes on, and Bill Murray strutting to the funkiness, unbelievable. Just love the song. I like the little high parts, when he raises his voice in the verse. Really cool guitar solo too. Really good tone, good feel. I mean, Jeff Lynne can play the guitar, right? Right, guys? I mean, come on. He did. I mean, he did all the, yeah. I just think
he was.
Oh, go ahead.
Well, in the move, Marco may know more of this, but I don't know. I know we're going on a tangent. I don't give a shit. In the move, how did Roy and Jeff handle the guitar parts? I mean, did Jeff play solos, or I can't really remember Roy really?
Question. They're both renowned like multi-instrumentation.
Yeah.
It's multi-instrument. Easy for me to say.
I guess I've seen videos of the move, and I think Jeff was playing like the solos. I think.
I think from like message from the country, whatever. I love that album. I think he plays lead. I think Jeff takes the lead.
I think you're right. Roy played a lot more bass, I think, than lead guitar.
Yeah.
He could. They both could play a lot of instruments.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at
there was that period where they're like on some of those move songs, the whole song is on bass.
Yeah. Right. Brontosaurus.
Yeah. Brontosaurus.
So anyway, Showdown's my number 5, and it's just a cool tune. Come on. It's just a cool tune. Very catchy.
Mm-hmm.
All
right. That's there we are. That was your 5. All right. Let's throw it over to the Parish of Rock. Parish.
Okay. My number 7 comes from On the Third Day. It's already been mentioned. It's another rocker. It's Ma Ma Bell. Well, no, Ma 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 Bell.
Ma Ma Ma.
Yeah, Ma 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 Bell. I just think it's a fantastic riff. I said earlier they don't do many heavy songs, but they do a couple of slows, and the ones they do I just love. And I just think it's a great song. It's already been spoken about, so I won't say too much. The next one is off Out of the Blue. And as I said earlier, I could only pick 2 songs of each album. And I just went over and over picked one song and then dropped it, and then picked another song and dropped it, and eventually settled on. And now I've settled on it. I can't think why I didn't just go straight to this song, and it's "Night in the City," which I just think's again another really good sort of pop rock song. Drives along quite well, and but it was never a single. I don't know why it wasn't a single. I think it would have been a hit. I suppose you can't release every song off a double album as a single, so some didn't. But yeah, so that's my number 6, and then number 5. I just looked up because I was curious actually to see how many plays it's had on Spotify, and I'll explain why in a moment. And it's had 97, nearly 98 million plays on Spotify, and it's Telephone Line. And the reason I looked it up is I just wonder how anybody under the age of maybe 30, 35 would kind of know what it's about, really.
A lot of plays.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to mention your next pick, because I would like to know how many plays the Move version got and how many plays the ELO version got.
Yeah, okay. But on Telephone Line, yeah, I mean, it's you said it earlier, really, but it's of its time, I guess, of the 70s, or maybe it could have lasted up into about the 80s, that kind of sound of the tone of, ringing out and nobody answering. Nowadays, it would go straight to voicemail, wouldn't it? So you'd never get a song like that anymore. Which is why I was curious to see how many it been on Spotify. But just again, another great song. And at this era, really, I just think they could do no wrong with the songwriting. I mean, Jeff Lynne was just brilliant, and I don't think he gets enough credit for his vocals either. When people talk about favourite vocalists, very very rarely do people mention Jeff Lynne. But again, I just think he's a really good vocalist. I think he's got a good versatility to his voice. He can go high. I know sometimes he's co-singing the songs, but even so, I still think he's got a great voice. And on this one, I think it just shines through. So that's my number 5, Telephone Line.
Excellent.
And he brought in a bunch of effects. He was a studio wizard, right? So he brought in a bunch of effects. He knew how to make his voice and all the sound. Everything sounds so cool.
God, I'm going to butcher it.
Well,
Vocoder.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the way the song builds from the beginning, when it sounds like he would have sounded through the telephone at the time, and then going into sort of normal vocals, I think plays really well. So please tell me if I'm incorrect, but I thought the Telephone Line not too long ago was used for like a Apple ad or something recently. I thought wasn't in some kind of advertising recently. I don't know. Maybe.
I don't know.
It could be an acid flashback. I don't know.
Probably. Well, one of their other songs that we haven't mentioned yet is used all the time, and we'll probably all get to that. Yeah.
All right.
It was used in Billy Madison. That was one of my favorite scenes. Yeah.
Well, that was a big movie, so
yeah,
it could be that. All right. Let's turn it over to Marco. Marco, you're up.
All right. Thanks. Thanks for the chance to do this. Yeah, I think Parish stole my word. I was going to use versatile when referring to Jeff Lynne's vocals. I saw somebody online commenting on them. I was watching a video saying that Jeff Lynne was a master at transitioning between chest vocals to head vocals to falsetto and then back, and that he's a very underrated vocalist. Maybe not technically a good singer, like a singer would be, like an operatic singer or something like this, but he's an excellent vocalist. And a lot of the reasons why I like a lot of the songs that are on my list are because of the performance, the vocal performances from Jeff Lynne, and Michael D. Albuquerque also did dual leads with Jeff Lynne live, and Kelly Grucut. These guys, Roy Wood was a great vocalist as well, right? So there's a lot of great double vocal harmonies and things like this in ELO, especially live if you watch them live. But a good song, which is my next one, that showcases the versatility of Jeff Lynne's vocal style, which is Showdown. And I think this is a good song that showcases the versatility of the band. Because I mean, like they can go from doing something kind of heavy like Ma Ma Bell to something like slow down a little bit and do something cool like Showdown. Which again, like I think a lot about the production when I think of ELO, and I think they were just masters at production. And a lot of these songs that I listen to, especially today, I think about how current the production is and how amazing songs like Showdown sound and how they could be released today. Showdown, Night Rider, there's a whole bunch of them. Some of the ones are a little bit more disco-y, maybe sound a little in certain areas just because of the instrumentation, but I still like those songs a lot. But yeah, Showdown was already mentioned, maybe more than once. My next one also from On the Third Day, which is a great ELO record. One of the reasons why I like Time a lot is because it's the kind of album that's it's kind of progressive and almost it's kind of like a concept album. And On the Third Day is another one that reminds me of that. It's very cohesive. It's progressive. You can listen to it all the way through. And Dreaming of 4000 is kind of like maybe a hidden gem on that album.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
We're good? Yeah. Dreaming of 4000. Excellent song off of On the Third Day. It's one of those songs that really showcases like a theme with ELO where there's so much stuff going on with their songs. Dreaming of 4000 is a progressive song. There's good performances, instrumentation performances, but even vocal performances. I love the way that Jeff Lynne delivers It's Over, or It's Too Late. Too late. It's too late. Just it just progresses all the way through. And it's just a really cool song. And there's a lot of ELO songs that have a lot going on, but that's a really good example of it.
Yeah.
And then my next track, we're doing 7, 6, 5.
Your fifth one.
Yeah, so this is another one from Time. Again, I listened to this album. I can listen to this album today and appreciate what a cool track Message from the Edge of the Earth is. And what I love about like this album is just how the theme is time, and like you can hear a lot of stuff that's futuristic, but also calls upon like the past as well. And like Message from the Edge of the Earth is ELO doing some there's really cool backing vocals on there that are very like early 70s glam rock sounding, and there's a lot of stuff going on this track as well, and it's just such a really cool underrated gem from this album, which is one that I can listen to on repeat. And again, you talk about was this one a single? Because it could have been, and there's so many ELO tracks that could have been singles that you could have released in 1981, or you could release them today. And again, this is another one, like I think this could be a single today. It's a great tune.
I got to go back and listen to this album more. You guys have mentioned a few, and I don't know this album very well, so I'm glad you guys are turning me on more to this album.
Yeah, it's very like new wavy, poppy, synthy kind of. If you're not like, if you don't mind that type of music, like if you like, ELO can do heavy stuff, and they do a lot of heavy stuff, especially when you hear some of the songs that aren't so heavy. When you hear them performed live, they get heavier. So ELO is pretty underrated as like a heavy rock, or like not a heavy rock band, but a rock band. Because I think they put out so many good pop songs that I think they get lumped into like, they're like a pop band, but they're so versatile. They're such a cool band. And Time is one of those cool synth poppy progressive rock albums that I just love it. If you love pop music, I can't recommend it enough.
I see the principal said John Lennon loves Showdown on the chat.
Could be.
That's kind of cool, right? If Lennon says he loved it, I don't know.
Well, I think John, what I read, even he said they just kind of picked up the ball from Magical Mystery Tour, and there you go. Yeah. From the end of the world.
Yeah, Marco. When Grant and I did the 1981 show, I don't have any time songs on my list, which I was kind of feeling bad about, but it was on my list of top 10 for 1981. And I like you. I still listen to that album. That particular year, I used to listen to that album a lot.
Cool.
All right, cool. Was that your 3, Marco? I got on the.
That was 3, yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, thank you so much. All right, let's throw it over to Dave. Dave, what's your next 3?
Yeah, okay. So let's see. Well, my number 7 has been mentioned already, and that's the El Dorado Overture leading into Can't Get It Out of My Head. And that was just such a cool concept, that whole album. It comes out, and then the cover is there with the ruby slippers and Wizard of Oz, and then it opens up with that El Dorado Overture with a vocal that kind of sounds like the Wizard or something. I think it was supposed to be The Wizard, and then it leads into Can't Get Out of My Head, which was one of their first top 10 singles, I believe. And it's on a lot of critics' top 10 lists for ELO. So it's come up 2 or 3. Like I don't remember if there's 2 or 3 of us that have put it on there, but many rock critics seem to agree with us. And it's a very classical and typical Jeff Lynne ballad, but that just says it all, that it's on so many of our lists. So my number 6 song is my favorite song from the album Discovery. So many of their albums, I like every single song on the album, and I don't want to skip even one of them. A lot of people didn't like Discovery that much. They said, well, he had sold out to disco. It had a hint of disco. Shine a Little Love in My Life was probably the most disco song. Confusion just had like a little tiny bit of disco in it. But it's an upbeat song with just a hint of disco. It's got the an ever-present falsetto vocal and something that's described as keyboard gymnastics. So it's got that nice tune to it, and it just kind of keeps you upbeat. I really like that song, so that'd be my favorite from that one. But I like so many songs from that album. I mean, Grant brought up another one, Need or Love, which was fantastic. On the Run is so good. There's so many good songs from that album.
Great.
Ironically, the 2 songs I like the least on that album are the 2 songs that he plays very frequently, and maybe it's because they're overplayed, but I don't think they're as good. And that's Shine a Little Love in My Life and Don't Bring Me Down. If I was ranking the album from 1 to 10, those songs would be in my bottom 3 or something. So. But those are the ones that made the set list. Oh, I want to just bring up, somebody in the comments section mentioned that Dhani Harrison was on tour. I actually saw the tour that he played on, so that was in Toronto. I saw them twice. I saw them in LA. He was not the opening act, but in Toronto he was. So, and finally, my number 5 one has also already been mentioned, but it's just such a great opening song. It kind of
Go ahead. No. Sorry, keep going.
Yeah, it kind of mixes the same concept as El Dorado, where it opens up with an orchestra song, and then it goes into Can't Get Out of My Head. But the difference is that in Tightrope, it's just one song, so it has this point where it just sort of morphs into the symphony, into like the upbeat rock song, and then it goes in. It just goes into all these different kinds of beats in the song, and then as people mentioned, the production of these songs is amazing. I mean, that's why. I think Jeff Lynne used to produce it himself. He, takes such a genius to be able to take all these different sounds in one song, and you don't even realize, like, it can go from ballad to rock, back to ballad, and then go to different types of music playing throughout the sound. Tightrope is like that, and it just goes back and forth into that symphony sound. It's that ELO blend that he just perfected. It's a fantastic song. Again, when I was doing this show, people on YouTube like to do these reaction videos, and it's just interesting to watch. You talk about the young people. There's the guys from the Views from the 502, for instance. I was watching their young guys from Kentucky. They just love this song. You just saw them like bopping their heads the entire time to this song. So it plays very well to the younger audience.
Excellent. All right, cool. All right, my number, whatever it is. What am I on?
7.
All right. No, my number 7. I can't remember. Well, it was already mentioned. I'll just touch on it. It's phenomenal. I got the 45 when I was a kid. Telephone Line. I think it's on blue vinyl. It's either on the 45 was either I think it was green or it was purple. I think this was on green vinyl. Loved it ever since I was a kid. I don't need to add anything more to it. It's already been discussed. That's my number 7. My number 6, I'm going to go with Do Ya from New World Record. Now, like I mentioned before, I'd be interested to know this had to probably get more hits than the Move version on Spotify. I don't know. Parish, did you look that up?
I did. It doesn't appear in the listing on Spotify. So.
Doesn't even appear. Well, you know why?
No, they only show the top 10, so at least it doesn't.
Oh, okay.
I'll tell you why.
Why?
Because the Move isn't really on Spotify at all. None of the the one with Brontosaurus, Looking On, is on there. Message from the Country, isn't it? Message from the. Am I saying that right?
They're missing Message.
It's not on. Yeah,
and I think they're missing the first album for the Move.
Shazam is on there.
Oh yeah, is it Shazam and Looking On that they have on there? Yeah,
That's
you're
the
right.
only
Like,
two they have on there.
half the albums are missing, but there is like some live stuff. I think live from the Fillmore East.
Yes, and it rocks. I mean, they're smoking on that live stuff.
And I think there's like some compilation stuff with
Mhm.
like Roy Wood compilation stuff that has Move stuff on it.
Yeah,
That
Yeah.
might not have like
he
stuff from
froze.
Message from the Country, like Tonight. Or sorry, Tonight was a single, but it was released as a bonus track. Message from the Country. Sorry, we're going off topic here with the Move, but
That's all right. We do that on this channel, Marco. It's all right. Just do whatever. Free for all on this channel. But I like this version too. Is it better than the Move version? I
Sorry,
think they're both great.
The Move version's on Spotify,
Okay.
and
Is it?
that's yeah,
Well, you know-
1.5 million.
Oh,
Well,
on
you know that the
Spotify,
UK,
but the ELO version isn't, because it's not in the top 10.
all right.
Spotify in the US and Spotify in the UK, you get different selections.
That would
I don't
make
know if
sense.
I don't know
Yeah,
if-
that makes sense.
because
That makes
I'm
sense,
telling you, I've been searching for that for ever since I got on Spotify, and I keep saying, "Where is it?" And it's not there. I just have the CD.
Sowing the Seeds of Love, my favorite ELO song.
Yeah, a good one.
That's a great song though. But yeah, I could see that being as an ELO song. But I love Do Ya either way. However I get it, the Move, ELO, I don't care. I like it. I have to mention it. All right, my next one, my number 5. This was kind of mentioned. I'm trying to pick stuff that no one else is probably going to mention, and I do have to give a shout out to the Xanadu soundtrack. Now, I was going to throw this out to the panel. Do you think this hurt ELO? Because the movie really was a horrible movie, but it has some great ELO on it. I'm Alive off the Xanadu soundtrack, phenomenal.
That's my wife's favorite song.
I think it's.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
I might as well list it. I'm trying to list stuff no one's listing. I love it. I can listen to it over and over. It's catchy. It's a perfect pop song. But do you think that this would have probably fared better like on a proper ELO album? Do you think that this hurt ELO, this soundtrack, or doing this soundtrack? Do you think a lot of these songs are just kind of forgotten?
I didn't like it at the time, although I quite like it now. But I think it took them to a new audience in the UK.
Yeah, the movie got a bad rap. I mean,
So you think this helped them in the UK?
I think it did, yeah. I think it. I mean, they were obviously big anyway, but they were. But I think the connection with Olivia Newton-John, who obviously was huge after Grease, I just think it took it to another audience, and they were big songs over here. And I know quite a lot of ELO fans then and now that loved those songs. I didn't at the time, but I quite like them now.
Well, what was it? Well, Parish put you on the spot. What was it about it at the time that you didn't like? I'm just curious.
I didn't like the fact that it was Olivia Newton-John alongside. I hated anything to do with Grease. I just detested that, and I detested how that dominated the UK. I mean, in whatever year it would have been, what, 78? That the two songs, Summer Loving and Grease. I mean, Summer Loving and You're the One That I Want was number one for almost the whole year between those two songs, and it just and for a punk as I was then, it just totally did me head in. So yeah, I admit my prejudices that I had back in the day, but now I listen to the album. I think it's a good album, and it's a good transition to where they went next with Time. I think it actually shows how they progressed from Discovery through to Time, and so if you listen to it in that kind of transition, I think it works quite well actually in their discography.
But when I listen to this, it still sounds more like it's like they haven't made the transition fully. This still sounds a lot like Discovery to me.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
which is
I
a
really
good
like
thing, I think, because that's a whole other topic for a show down the road. But I like it. I thought I'd throw it in there just to give it some light. You know?
I really like the Xanadu song though. I think Olivia Newton-John with the background of ELO, I think it sounds great actually. I do. By the way, this album was when Grant and I did 1980. I had this album on my list. I quite like it. Yeah, like the album. I couldn't watch the movie. I actually remember that I did really like the album. I was on a very long flight, and that was the movie they showed. And I thought, well, okay, I'll finally watch the movie. And I watched like 10 minutes of it. And I said, I can't watch this.
All right, cool. That was my third one of the batch. Let's throw it over to Webb. Webb, give us your top 4.
Okay, well, I just saw a comment from DC. So DC,
Oh.
I'm really gonna let you down when I get to my number 1 because he just.
Oh, well, those are his wall punchers. DC's not a big fan of those.
Well, and I agree that I could have done a top 20 instead of a top 10 of this. I had so many honorable mentions. But okay, so top 4, nothing but hits here, guys. I didn't go deep. It's just my age. You know, I was from 75 to 79. You know, I was 6 to 10 years old. All these songs were on the radio all the time. Reminds me of my childhood. So it's very nostalgic for me. Number 4, Mr. Blue Sky. It wasn't even released as a single in the US, UK number 6, but yet I wrote that it's okay. So it's 3 times platinum in the US, but it was never released as a single. That kind of blows my mind. Most streamed song on Spotify by a long shot on any of their other songs.
Over 1 billion.
Yes.
Over 1 billion.
And,
Over 1 billion.
this is cool because I'm a Kinks fan. It said the song's piano and drum intro are borrowed from Kinks' 68 song, Do You Remember Walter, which is one of my favorite Kinks songs. Proggy, happy vibe, catchy sing-along chorus. Greg Bissonette does a cool drum take of it because I think he toured with Jeff Lynne's ELO, and he plays the little fire extinguisher. That's an actual Bev Bevan hitting a fire extinguisher during that, which is really cool. I mean, who does that? I said I think it was just sitting around in the studio. Obviously, it has to be in there, right, for safety purposes. Let's hit it. And I just thought it was cool. It's been on multiple TV shows, movies. It's been described as their signature song. I don't know if you guys would agree with that, but I was just reading about that. And he was locked away in the Swiss chalet, and he couldn't, he had to write for a double album, and it was stormy and cloudy, and then the sun broke and the Alps were there, and it inspired Mr. Blue Sky, and then the rest of Out of the Blue just rolled out of him. So there you go. It's just a cool song.
I think it was Mr. Blue Sky that was in the ad.
Yes, it's used all the time.
That's what it was. I got it confused.
Yeah. So it's like I think it's kind of a song that if people don't even know ELO, they know the song. So that's my number 4. Number 3, Living Thing. I love it. It was US 13. I was writing down all the facts here. UK number 4. So top 5 in the UK. It was top 5 in every country that charts except the United States. So I think it's the first ELO song I ever heard. Evil Woman came out before, but I don't know if I remember hearing it. I remember hearing Living Thing with the intro that's kind of a Spanish vibe with the orchestration is a very Spanish vibe. Again, my neighbor had the 45. We listened to it all the time. I thought it was very unusual sounding. I love the acoustic guitar flowing on top of the verse. It's just so, that vibe that ELO on some of their singles, especially, it just emits. It's just so smooth and relaxing and cool.
Yep.
And great song. Background vocals were like nothing I'd ever heard at the time. And I can always go back to the song. It always makes me feel good. Number 2, Evil Woman. I love the piano. That breakdown, the piano was so cool. He said, Jeff Lynne said he wrote it in under 30 minutes because the album did not have a single, he thought. And he sent the guys out to watch a soccer football match, and he wrote it. And he came up with the chords, and that's really cool. That's a cool fact. And There's a Hole in My Head Where the Rain Comes In is a tribute to Fixing a Hole from the Beatles, which is kind of cool. And okay, I read one more cool fact, and I'll go on to number 1. Jeff Lynne took a simple 3-chord progression that Led Zeppelin utilized at the end of Stairway to Heaven. So you got to think about the end of Stairway to Heaven. I matched it up. It fits. I don't know whoever wrote this, but I don't know. That's a pretty cool fact. And it was, like I said, it was a top 10. It was number 10 in the U.S. and huge everywhere, even huger everywhere else. All right, number 1, DC's not going to like it.
Well,
yeah, it's Do Ya. I just love it. I love the riff. Gets me every time. Only got to number 24, and I want to see what you guys in the U.S. I want to see. This is my theory. It's kind of hard to sing along to. The verse, a lot of words, right?
mhm.
Really, I mean, you can't really sing along to it except for the chorus. Maybe it was overexposure to 6 or 7 singles in 2 years, but to only get to number 24, I don't know. I just think it's a great song. There's a slide in the background, during the verse. It's kind of George Harrison-y. I love Bevan's tom fills in the bridge and the snare turnaround. I had to talk a little technical stuff here, the drum stuff. I love that going into the last verse. And obviously it was a move. He wrote it when he was in the Move. And I think that version's cool too. And I read the slogan put in the chat that he just found out it wasn't an Ace Frehley song. I got to laugh at that. I'm sorry. Yeah. Hey, Ace did a pretty good cover of it. I don't know. I haven't heard.
I think Ace did a fine cover of it. I have no problem with it, but no. Don't forget, there's the Todd Rundgren version of "Do You Too" that's on Another Live.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, yeah. He was playing it live in '75, and people came up to Jeff Lynne, and because they decided to record it. A lot of people thought it was a Rundgren song.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, why are you covering a Todd Rundgren song? He's like, well, no, it's my song. So I just think that's cool. I just think it's one of the all-time coolest riffs for.
Well, do you think that's the reason he redid it, or did he think was Jeff trying to improve upon the Move version? Does anybody know? What was the version? Why redo it?
It's the only song that ELO did a cover of a Move song. It's the only Move cover that ELO.
Right, but what was the reason?
I don't know. I mean, just because maybe he just thinks it's a kick-ass song and it just didn't get enough exposure from that transitional period where they're going, from the Move to ELO, and because the Move was pretty much over. And maybe he just said, I've got to rewrite this and make it more radio friendly and shorten it a little bit. Because, I mean, the Move versions, there's 2 versions actually of it. Anyway, this is a great song. You had to make it. So that's my number 1.
All right.
And
works for me.
I really enjoyed doing this, and
yeah.
Thanks for having me on.
Of course. Always good. Parish, what are your top 4?
Well, just before I do that, I forgot to tell a story actually earlier about my number 5, which was Telephone Line.
Okay.
And my youngest son, when he was about 18, and I was playing ELO in the car, and then he goes to me, why does Jeff Lynne have such a downer on women? I said, what do you mean he has a down on women? He said, well, he's got Evil Woman, and he's got a song called Horrible Wife. I said, he hasn't got a song called Horrible Wife. So we skipped back through it. And bearing in mind he's heard ELO all his life, he thinks Telephone Line sings Horrible Wife. And I can't now hear Telephone Line without hearing Horrible Wife. So there you go. So next time you listen to the song, see if you think it also says Horrible Wife. But my son certainly did. So
funny.
Okay, so my top 4. So number 4 has already been spoken about, Showdown. Everybody else has really already said what there is to say about it. Very kind of funky, but also kind of rocky. Great song. Surprisingly a hit in the UK. So my number 3, looking at the chat's not going to be very popular. But my number 3, and I have to say all 3, my top 3, I found very hard to put him into an order. But my number 3's that one. So Don't Bring Me Down. And interestingly, the B-side is Dreaming of 4000, which is a bit unusual to put an older track on the B-side. But anyway, that was the B-side. So, yeah, Don't Bring Me Down. Yeah, I loved it at the time. I think people say it's a bit of a disco song, but I never heard it as a disco song, really. I just heard it as a good rock song. I like the drumming on it. I mean, we haven't really spoken about Bev Bevan, but Bev Bevan's in my top 5 drummers of all time. I think he's just a fantastic drummer. And the stuff he did with ELO was absolutely brilliant. It's a shame. It's a shame he's not doing the farewell tour with them, but that's another story.
What is that?
I got to break. I'm sorry, Parish. Okay, so watching videos of ELO and of course focusing on Bev, he holds the snare between those fingers. Never seen another drummer do that. I'm not making this up. He plays it. I'll go left hand since that's what, and he holds it like this. He doesn't hold it between his, like that. He holds it like this. It's just the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and I just noticed that watching maybe the Midnight Special when they were on there in '75. Never seen a drummer do that. So there's my.
I think he was self-taught too.
Yeah. Hey.
Yeah, probably. But it, I mentioned on the show that we did last time that I used to work with somebody who was a roadie for the Move, and Bev Bevan, he was the roadie for Bev Bevan, and he said he's just the nicest guy as well. So not just a good drummer, but a really nice guy. But I think he's a heavy drummer. I think despite the fact that a lot of pop songs in there, he doesn't play the drums as if they're pop songs. I think he always plays them.
Well, I wish they would have used Bev's vocals in ELO more.
Yeah.
I love Bev when he sings. And it's just there's no Bev in ELO.
Bev was kind of the good-looking guy of the band. He was kind of the I don't know.
Great underrated drummer.
I'm surprised they didn't get him to sing Down Hometown.
Yeah, really.
Based on his history with the Move.
Yeah. He's a good drummer.
So,
and I was just going to say one more thing. I'm sorry, Parish.
That's okay.
Jeff Lynne's production of there's no other drums that sound like Bev Bevan's. That kind of that dry is thuddy, but it's not, that's not a bad thing. It just, the way he recorded the drums, it sounded that way in the Move too. And he kind of kept that all the way through the ELO. I mean, it did get more in the last few albums, in the 80s albums, it changed a little bit, but that 70s, just cool. So.
All right, cool.
And you mentioned earlier about cover versions of ELO songs. This is the only song that I know of that's had several cover versions done by bands.
Well,
and it's always rocked up into a heavy rock song, and I always think it sounds pretty good as a heavy rock song.
The project from Blue, the L.E.O project. This is the last song that they did, and it's the only cover version on the record because the LEO was it was really a tribute to ELO because they did a whole album of ELO type songs. And then to end the record, they did a cover of this. So, kind of cool. And they did a great job. It sounds like ELO. So check out that record if you haven't. The LEO.
And my last two, I think, are probably the rockiest songs. So my number 2 is Rock Aria. I just think it's brilliant the way it starts. I can't get over the fact that live it's Kelly Grukop that actually does that vocal at the beginning. I don't think it was on record, but he carries it off perfectly on stage on the things I've watched. And it's just an old school rock and roll song, really, just revved up. Absolutely love it. And then my number 1, I remember hearing this. This was the first single off Out of the Blue in the UK. At least it was the first single. I heard it on one of these on a Thursday night on Capital Radio, which was a London radio station, and they were just playing the sort of new releases that were coming out that Friday, the following day. And I heard it and it just blew me away, and it's still probably in my top 5 favorite songs, full stop. And it's Turned to Stone. I just think it's fantastic. I also think it's one of the heaviest songs they ever did. It's just heavy, but they replaced the guitar with the cello and the violin. But I still think it's a really powerful, heavy song, and it just drives it along. And I think it's brilliant. And just because I got it out, there's my Out the Blue picture disc.
Oh, let me wait a minute. Let's see that. Throw that up there again. Oh, very nice.
Oh, nice.
And now that's the one. I'm pretty sure that one was on purple vinyl when I bought the 45 as a kid.
The one which was on purple vinyl was released in the UK was Sweet Talking Woman.
Maybe it was Sweet Talking Woman.
I don't know. It may have been different.
I can't remember.
The vinyl, the single version of Turn to Stone was sort of like a dark navy blue, I guess, because of the out in the blue.
I could go get it.
But yeah, Sweet Talking Woman was purple. Mauve colour. So that's my number one.
All right. Cool.
Turn to Stone, and I don't care what anybody else says, they're wrong. That is the best.
I'm with you. All right, cool. Thanks, Paris. Let's throw it over to Marco. Marco, what's your final four?
All right, so we're cutting it down to like my favorite tracks. Probably
Yes,
a lot of my top, like before this, 5 to 10, I could probably interchange with a lot of songs that, you know, folks on the panel already like mentioned. But these four are pretty consistently like my favorite ELO tracks, and these are maybe a little contrarian. Not trying to do that on purpose, but number 4, it's my only track from El Dorado, which is a great album. There's a couple other tracks I probably could have put on there, but this is my favorite track off El Dorado, Laredo Tornado, which is kind of like a sister song to Showdown. And if you want to talk about like heavy ELO or heavier or rock-ish type of ELO stuff, listen to that live. That one's on the Midnight Special, and that's with Kelly Grucut. He wasn't on the recording, but he played live on it. And it's just an excellent performance. It's like an epic rock. It's heavy live. It's such a cool song. Love that tune from that, and great album too. Number 3, one of my favorite ELO tracks from one of my favorite albums, Truly 2095 from Time. Just this. I can't like say enough about these like top 4 tracks about how cool they are. And like this one, again, like we're talking about like synth and stuff like this really showcases just how cinematic the band can be and tell a story that's science fiction and horror like mixed in one kind of, but do it in such a way that it's like commercially viable, that you could play it on the radio. You know, like it's such a cool song. It's timeless from such a great album. Anyways, I can't say enough about that one. And then here, you know, I have a couple of tracks from early ELO. I'm very nostalgic for The Move. I got into the ELO kind of backwards. Like I started listening to The Move because as a kid, I listened to Kiss, and I discovered The Move through Kiss, through Roy Wood and Wizard, who influenced Kiss. And The Move influenced Kiss a lot too. And a lot of UK bands from that time influenced Kiss actually quite a lot, which I've learned, like T-Rex and stuff like this. Mm-hmm. But nobody's mentioned anything from the first 2 albums yet, right?
Yeah,
I thought about it in my honorable mentions. I've got some, but yeah,
I love the first 2 albums. And my number 2 song is Kiyama from ELO 2, which is it's the longest ELO track. It's quite progressive, and it's just a beautiful song. And I love the lyrics. This is another one that they do live. So there's an 11-minute studio version. There's like a 3-minute or 3.5 or 4 minute live version of Kiyama. Again, I think it's from Don Kirshner's rock concert or the Midnight Special, one of those TV shows.
I think you're right. I think I've heard that recently.
It's done live, and it's the short version. I just love the way Jeff Lynne performs his vocal live on Kiyama, especially the last verse there. But you really hear the lyrics, and the lyrics just stand out. They become so dynamic when you hear them performed live. Unfortunately, it's only like a 3-minute because it almost looks like they even cut it. I think they performed the whole track live. I don't know if there's an actual full video performance of it from that performance, but it almost feels like it kind of cuts right after the violin solo. It just cuts right into like the last verse. But great, beautiful song. And it really captures the ELO sound. It merges the old stuff with kind of where ELO was going. And then my number 1 song, hasn't been mentioned, and I'm shocked that it hasn't been mentioned. 10538 Overture from ELO 1. I think this song is evergreen. This is one of those songs that it's probably their first hit, and probably like one of the songs that, you probably have heard it so many times, but for me, it's like they could play this live and I could just listen to every live version of it over and over and over again. Uh-huh. There's a documentary on Tubi about the early years of ELO from like 70 to 73. Mm-hmm. And there's quite a few different clips of the performances of 10538 Overture. And like every time they played it, I wasn't bored of it at all. And I was like, this is such a great song. It's nostalgic for me. It was written for the move, actually. Jeff Lynne wrote this for Message from the Country, but they held on to it for ELO because they figured with the cello parts that it fit the sound of the band that they were forming better than the move. But it was written for the move, I believe. I could be wrong about that, but I believe. And I believe that 10538 came from a number that they read off one of the cabinets in the recording studio. So it was something that was on the equipment. And they turned that into the title of the track. But
Brilliant.
It's just an excellent tune. And I think it's their best.
Yeah, you're 100% right. ELO has way too much stellar material to make a top 10.
Yeah.
This is impossible. This is really just to talk about ELO. That's really what this is. Masquerading as a top 10.
Let me add one thing.
Go ahead.
This is hard to admit, but Def Leppard does a kick-ass cover of 10538 Overture. They did. I don't look it up. They really did the song. They really did a great job with it.
I've never heard it.
Yeah, I don't know when they did it, but it's really cool.
Parish, have you heard it?
I have, yeah. I think
Oh, okay.
I think it was a B. I think it was a B side of a single. So.
Yeah, I thought they did a good job.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. All right, well, there you go. We got something from the debut. All right, let's throw it over to Dave Lubin to get his final four. Dave, you are up.
All right, thanks, Grant. And actually, just echoing what Marco said, when I saw ELO live, in my opinion, and everything sounded great, by the way, but the two songs that stood out were 10538 Overture. I don't know what it was. It really stood out in that concert. And then the other one was the El Dorado Overture going into Can't Get Out of My Head. Those were the ones that I don't remembered above all else, but it was great. I waited my whole life. I mean, I was definitely a middle-aged adult when I finally got to see ELO. I'll try to make this short. I was supposed to go see them as a 13-year-old in Montreal, and they canceled the Out of the Blue concert the night before the concert because they didn't want to pay the taxes that they were going to have to pay in Quebec. So rather disappointed. All right, go to my top four. I'm a little surprised that someone mentioned Strange Magic from Face the Music, or am I the first one to mention that one?
No, I had that.
Parish.
You did have that one. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, that's just actually that was the first ELO song that I remember really like saying, oh, and I was a kid at the time. I got into ELO because my brothers used to play these albums on their stereos and just blast them. But the first song that really resonated with me was Strange Magic, and that was like one that I said, okay, I want you to play Strange Magic. I want you to play Strange Magic. It's a beautiful, haunting ballad by Jeff Lynne. It was one of their first like big hits. It got to number 14 on Billboard, and it was a gold single. Yeah. It's over 500,000 copies sold in the United States. So the next one, somebody had Living Thing in their top three. I like the lead-in song to Living Thing, and that's So Fine. And I like Living Thing too, obviously.
I like it too, Dave.
But it's this upbeat poppy song that I think if I had to pick my favorite road song, being on the road and blasting and let's say being on the highway and hearing an ELO song, I would actually pick this one. It's just got that middle section with all the drums and the electronic percussion. And then you got a little bit of Moog processor going in there. You got it all in that one. And then it's got that whatever that bubbling sound that leads into Living Thing. And it's the two songs just play off each other just to perfection. But that's for a New World record, which I don't know. It's between a New World record and Face the Music. I'm not sure which one is my favorite, but that's my other representation in that album. Now, my next one, somebody mentioned this earlier in the chat, and I got it all the way up to number 2. And I'm gonna give a little bit of love to the Secret Messages album as well. They had a song called Stranger, and I really, really like this song. It didn't do anything. It was released as a single, and it got to only 105. It did a little bit better in Great Britain, but it's basically this kind of melodic like you said, Grant, it's like that album is kind of very 80s sounding. But it's just this, story about basically it's about a small town boy. He's anxiously facing the rest of the world. Yeah, he finds his first girl, and then he says, "I'm never going back again." So it had like this kind of sad overtune to it that was kind of interesting. But I've always really liked that song. And then number one's, I thought that I had a really original number one song, and I have heard this brought up twice, but it's my favorite ELO song. I mean, if I'm going to play just one ELO song, it's always been my go-to, and that's Poker. I love it. It's like a fast-paced banger. You've got like that fast tempo guitar. I love the synthesizer in it, and I didn't even realize until much later that Jeff Lynne is not even the lead singer in that song. It's actually Kelly Grucut. So, but that one's always been my favorite, and as I said, it's just a great banger, great rocker. It's side 2 on Face the Music, and hey, I thought I chose a deep track, but I think at least two of you have picked it, if not 3 of us. So there you go. So anyone who doesn't know that song and is watching this show, must be a great song. You got 3 of 5.
Heck, I don't know.
I thought I was going to be the only one that mentioned it, Dave. I was like, I'm going to get everybody with Poker. No,
no, it's my favorite.
It's awesome.
So I was going to type this in the comment. Jan says the best way to listen to Secret Messages is to listen to the double album. Was it ever released as a bootleg? I'm sure there's probably a bootleg of it before they cut it down to a single album somewhere. I've never heard it. I've heard the Beatles cut that they pulled from the record, but I haven't. It probably would have been a better double album than a single album. I don't know. Has that been released as a boot? Does anybody know?
No.
I don't know. Probably has. Anyway, Poker seems to be the number one of this entire show. I swear to God, everybody's picked that almost already. All right. Thank you, Dave. Let's get this dog tied up. And we went late, but we can still do some honorables. Okay, my number 4. Now, no one's said anything from this album, but I think this song is absolutely. I love this track, and I thought I'd try to give some love to some of these albums no one's talking about. I'm going to go with Moment in Paradise from Zoom. I mean, kind of in that vein of Here or Love, but man, the thing that I've noticed on these really late ELO albums, yes, it sounds like ELO, but man, the production has gotten so compressed and just so mid-rangey. There's really no dynamic range at all, and there's really not much. It's almost like a low fidelity thing. Just from re-listening to these for this project, I'm just going, my God, what has happened? But I think Moment in Paradise is probably one of the better later Jeff Lynne tracks, so I thought I'd include that.
You know what another one is, Grant, from that album?
What?
There was a Japanese bonus track called Long Black Road that they used in a movie in like 2000, American Hustle in like 2015 or something. Mm-hmm. It was never released on the US version, but it's such a great tune. And that's another cool, it sounds like it's like written right out of like 1971 or something. It's a great song, and it's a bonus song. It's not even like on the actual album. Long Black Road. That would have been like, for me, like I could have made that my number, in my top 5 or whatever. Yeah. Top 10.
But I do like this song quite a bit. And I still like this record, well, damn it, quite a bit. So whatever. This has been mentioned, and I'm just going to mention it off of this album just because it's this. I don't know if it's the single mix, but it doesn't have that intro that's on El Dorado. But can't get it out of my head. I mean, if I'm really going to rank these, I just kind of went through them and listed. This probably would be my number 1 ELO track of all time. Somehow it's stuck at number 3. I don't know. I'm putting the graphics together. But the Ole ELO from 1974 was like one of the early comps that came out in the States. So it covered, the first album all the way up until, actually, I guess it goes up to El Dorado. I'm looking at, but then they're also holding this album cover too, which is kind of a cool photo. But anyway, I thought I'd throw that in there because it doesn't have that whole introduction. It's more like the single mix. Anyway, give it some love. Why not? This one, no one's mentioned. I mean, this is pure disco, ladies and gentlemen. But man, I'll tell you, if any band can do disco and not come off poorly, it would have to be ELO. So I love I love Shine a Little Love off of Discovery.
It's funky.
It's funky. It's disco-y. It checks all those boxes for ELO for me. And I had to bring it up. You know, this is one of those records back in the day, because I kind of felt when I was a kid, everybody had Out of the Blue, but then after that, I know this was kind of a big record, but I always really thought that this was kind of I don't want to be mean to it, like there was a real shift in quality. But now as I listen to it now, I don't hear that.
Yeah.
Probably
Don't Break Me Down was their biggest hit.
It was the biggest hit. They were still riding high.
Yeah.
But didn't Jeff Lynne kind of think that this is when things were starting to? How did Jeff Lynne look at this? From what I understood, he thought this is where everything was starting to poop out.
I heard him on the radio recently, and he said this is where he fell out of love with doing the orchestral stuff on this album, and he said he'd had enough. That's why he started to. You hear less strings on it, for instance, and then on Don't Bring Me Down, you don't hear any at all. And then obviously he then moved more into the synthesizer, kind of new wavy sound. But yeah, apparently he sort of had enough of that orchestral sound, which is a shame, really, because to me that's what made him different.
And then, you know, I go from Shine a Little Love, and then I go, oh, God, that is so great. What else? Well, this is probably where it all started. I put this is my number one for today. It'll change for tomorrow. But Showdown, I went, God, this is kind of where it all started, because, you know, isn't this basically kind of in that disco funky vein? But man, they did it so well. But man, I can listen to this record. And this is another one of those ELO albums that has really, really kind of crept up higher in my rankings. And we are going to talk about this record, but man, I really dig this album. We'll be talking about that soon. So,
well, Shine a Little Love could have been played at Club 54, you know, because of the up tempo, right? Showdown wouldn't have gone over well at Club. I mean, it wasn't open then, but you know, it's the slow funk,
slow funk. But they did it so well. Yes, so anyway, that's my number one for today. Anyway. Anybody have any honorable mentions? We're an hour 17. We can do 10 more minutes. Honorables for everybody.
I'll just mention two songs that Mission on New World Record. I think that there you go, Marco. That's a cool song. Bluebird's Dead. I don't even know what that's like. Oh yeah, see Marco. Oh yeah, I'm getting a thumbs up from Marco.
That's up on the third day, isn't it? Isn't that the third track?
I just thought it was a cool song. I really wasn't 100% familiar with it on the third day as much as you guys, and I went over that one. I'm like, damn, that's a good song. And then the song that I heard when I was really in a effed up good place with my friends in college, and we wanted to hear something crazy, and Fire on High. My God. You know, I mean, I wanted to put that in here. I mean, you know, it takes about a minute or so to kick in, but I had never heard acoustic strum that fast, you know, and just that, I mean, it's just kick ass. So that I threw those in. I could have done top 20 easily at ELO. So Fire on High is awesome.
All right. Yeah, Eric, go ahead, Marco.
Sorry, we're going
Parish, in order. Whoever.
Yeah, go Parish.
Okay, well, I'm going to pick two off the list. So if I go back to my Spotify top 10 list, there's two that's not been mentioned. One isn't a surprise to me, but one is. So, Sweet Talking Woman is on that list, and I had that on my top 10 until I decided I was only going to go with two songs. I needed to have a deep cut off Out of the Blue, so it dropped away. But to me, I think that's the best vocals that Jeff Lynne ever did with ELO. I just think it's a fantastic vocal. So, and that's in the top 10. But the one that surprised me is the third most listened to ELO song on Spotify is Last Train to London. And that surprised me.
Good song.
I mean, it's a good song, but I just thought there would have been others that would have been higher. So the top 3 on Spotify: Mr. Blue Sky, not a surprise. Don't Bring Me Down, not a surprise. Last Train to London was a surprise. And if I just carry down the 5, then Living Thing at number 4 and Evil Woman at number 5. So that's the top 5 on Spotify.
Cool.
So
All right,
that's my
cool.
honorable mentions.
Yeah, Ken, I would have picked Calling America. I almost picked it to give that album some love, but I didn't. I went with the Xanadu track instead. But that would be an honorable. I have no problem with Calling America. I have no problem with it. So, all right, thank you, Parish. Let's throw it over to Marco. Marco, what's your give us some honorables? I know you have a lot.
Yeah, there's a few. Sorry, I won't go through all of them.
You're all right. Just do.
Was already mentioned. That was an honorable mention. Long Black Road. So Serious. That's a later song. That probably almost made my list, and that was a more later one. One that I'm surprised you didn't mention, Grant, Mr. Kingdom, because that's very Beatles to me, and I feel like you would love that.
I like that a lot.
What is that on? I
That's
don't even know.
El Dorado.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like John Lennon, Beatles kind of cool song.
It is very Beatlesque. I will give you that. I should have picked it, but wow.
And a couple of I almost put Look at Me Now at number 10 as well, just because I wanted something from Roy Wood. But I could have switched that up for my number 10. That was an honorable mention. And then Queen of the Hours from Yellow One is another cool, underrated gem if you look at the early stuff.
A little harder than life. Mr. Kingdom is practically across the universe. Oh, I'm sure I could. Yeah. Trish! Look, DJ Trish is here. Trish, nice to see you. Welcome. Better late than never, Trish. All right, cool. Balance of Power has the 1986 production working against it. It does, but if anybody can handle that 1980, see, the thing is, I'm a stickler for that 80s production. Now, when I lived through it, none of it bothered me. But now some of it just drives me up the nuts. Yeah. But Balance of Power, somehow when ELO does it, it doesn't bother me though. Because it still has that ELO Jeff Lynne sound, but I just give him more breathing room to do whatever he wants. He just is so brilliant. I don't know. It doesn't bother me. So Balance of Power, even though it is very 1986, doesn't bother me. What do you keep pointing? What?
Pointing down to Dave. He's got to give his honorable mentions.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Done, Marco?
Sorry, I'm trying to move it on, Grant. I'm just trying.
Well, we're good till for an hour and a half. Dave, what's your honorables?
All right. Just a couple that I was surprised haven't come up at all. Night Rider from Face the Music. Fantastic song. Boy Blue from El Dorado, another fantastic song. Above the Clouds from I don't think anybody's mentioned Above the Clouds from A New World Record. So let's bring up those 3 quickly. And if we're going to talk about something more recent, and it was fairly recent, and that was About a Boy, and that song was very nostalgic for me. I mean, at that point in my life, I mean, the point when I listened to ELO was long behind me. But he actually, that was one of the only like new songs that he performed at that concert. Did a great job with it, and it was just really cool to hear he could still do that kind of sound, and it could still sound good to me. And just one more point, I wanted people to understand. I don't dislike "Don't Bring Me Down" or "Shine a Little Love." What I'm saying is, Discovery is another one of those albums that I like it. I like every single song of the album. I'm just saying if I'm ranking them. I don't like those songs as much, probably because they get played so much. So there you go.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah. That ELO stuff is so timeless and great that I can listen to it over and over again. I mean, if Don't Bring Me Down still comes on the radio, I don't turn it off. I like it all. One
more quick fact. I'm full of facts like
okay.
Creed. That's not Bev Bevan playing drums at all. And Don't Bring Me Down. It's all a sample. There's no drums in that.
Or drum machine.
Sample. Yeah, it's a drum machine from '79. Yeah, and apparently he wanted no part of the song. I don't, So that was a pretty cool fact. So
no one mentioned D-Rocker. No one mentioned Roll Over Beethoven, even though I love it.
Yeah,
and I know Marco.
It's a cover, right? Like,
yeah,
it's a live staple, but it's a cover. That's why I didn't consider Do Ya, because I considered that like a move song.
Yeah.
It is my favorite version of that song. I will say that.
Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, I think we can wrap this dog up. I do want to thank the panel tonight. Want to thank Webb, the Parish, Marco, and Dave. The ELO series will continue, though I don't think I've sent the dates out for that, have I? I will tomorrow. I'm going to be booking stuff tomorrow. So we will be continuing on with the ELO set. So Webb, you're more than welcome. Well, of course all you gentlemen can come on if you want to do it. Of course. So anyway, we will be back for more ELOs. So please subscribe. If you haven't checked out the Contrarians live chat on Wednesday, please do. Every Wednesday we go live at 7 and it's always fun. And you missed this week, yesterday, I gave Martin a lot of crap. So you might want to turn and watch it because I gave him a lot of crap. Yeah. I did. They were giving me crap. We almost had a battle.
Really?
But it was a very entertaining. Well, the thing is he didn't like my Bon Jovi. Martin doesn't like Bon Jovi. And I used Bon Jovi for the thumbnail. Martin hates Bon Jovi. But a lot of people like Bon Jovi. That's all I'm going to say. It was just funny. But it's all good. But we had a good show. And the Wednesday shows are just a hoot. So please tune out. But there's more stuff on the Contrarians. There's going to be more stuff here. Next week, Schnee will be back. We will be live doing our part 2 of the Resident Show. I recorded a show with Larry Graves where we just looked at Trout Mask Replica and Lick My Decals Off Baby by Captain Beefheart.
Crazy.
Not for the faint-hearted, ladies and gentlemen. So I'll get that up. There's more stuff coming. All right, everybody. We'll see you. Keep it clean. I'll be in contact. The Parish and I are doing the Slade series. We need to get that booked. And we did that live. That worked out really well, Parish. We'll probably do that again.
Yeah, look good.
It looked good. We did it. Check out the Slade episode. Was that episode 4 that we did?
It was.
We did it off of StreamYard. We did it like a live show, but I didn't have to do any work to it. I just had everything ready and we just recorded it basically as a live show. Went really well. I'm going to start doing more stuff like that and just start using it so I don't have to do any work. Lazy. All right, everybody. We'll see you. Everybody have a good night. Keep it clean. Tomorrow is Friday. Have a good weekend. We'll see you.